Welcome to the Soccer Coaching Podcast, where we will discuss all things that impact soccer coaching across all levels and ages. Please listen, enjoy, and share your thoughts on the discussions at the Soccer Coaching Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Soccer Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Scott, and this is where usually Mark would say I'm your other host, Mark. But due to work commitments, unfortunately, Mark isn't with us today. However, don't worry, you haven't got an hour of me speaking way too fast on my own, because I'm delighted to say that I've driven from North London across to South London and negotiated the Thames, and I'm with Kieran Smith. Hi, Kieran.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Yeah, we're going to talk about a few things. You probably or may well have heard of Kieran and what he's been up to on some other podcasts. I certainly have, and I've listened and learned a lot already. So we're going to cover some similar ground, but also maybe take a slightly different angle on some of the points. But before we start, Kieran, for those that maybe haven't heard of you and what you've been up to, do you mind just giving a bit of an update of your background and what you've been doing and what you're currently doing?
Yeah, no problem. And thanks for negotiating the Thames coming over.
I didn't swim it.
No, that's fine. I'm glad. So I have been a coach. I think I first started coaching when I was 19, when I finished playing football. So that's a long time now, unfortunately. But so I first finished playing, got into coaching pretty much straight away, and I've worked at a variety of different levels. Initially worked as a development officer for the SFA, then moved to London where I got into academy work, worked at Fulham, Tottenham, then worked for Man City before I got the chance to move to Spain. That's probably what I'm most well known for is living in Spain and talking about the Spanish methodology through Rondos and stuff like that. Worked in the third division there, worked at the highest youth level in Spain with a club called Alcorcon, sort of under 19s there, and then had a very short stint, about 6 months in Barcelona before I came back, and that's pretty much it, really.
Super stuff. Kieran, so I've heard you say that before. I was curious to know whether or not your Spanish influence, was that in you from the beginning? Like, did you kind of have a leadership towards Spanish football before you kind of went to Spain? Was it like a call-in, or did you kind of come across that when you were over in Spain and picked up that philosophy and the way they play?
No, it was from a very, very young age. So I was lucky enough that my gran had an apartment in Mallorca, so every summer we went over there. And then when I was playing football in the UK, in Glasgow, I was offered a trial at Real Mallorca.
Right.
So when I went there, I was on holiday, just playing on the beach, and someone spotted me, and then I just went for a trial. And when I went there, the way that they trained was completely different. And then that's where I didn't know it at the time, but I first did a rondo, and I first was asked to play differently. And the sort of player I was very much, like to dribble and move around and find space naturally, and that wasn't the way I was being coached back in Scotland. So
can you imagine?
Yeah, certainly not at that point in time. So it kind of fed into that, really. Then from there, I'd always had a massive passion for Spanish football. When I became a coach, I think the first, even from the earliest time, even when I came to England, I came to London in 2007, did my level 1 with a fantastic shooter called Ray Lee, who became like a mentor to me. I was really lucky right from the start. Even then, I was talking about, this is how I want to play, this is what I want to do. And I said it, I think I might have said it before, but he said, look, that's going against the status quo. So if you want to do it, you have to make sure you're the best at it. And I just made sure that from there, I just had to learn as much as possible. Then I got really lucky with a few people that I met. But yeah, my dream was always to get to Spain. I kind of hit a bit of a glass ceiling coaching wise, career wise, here in London and Manchester when I was about 27, and I just went, it's now or never. I didn't have any kids, no mortgage. I went, and I just had to back myself really and go, right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go here. Move to Madrid. I'd never been to Madrid.
Right.
The first time I went was
Did you speak the language?
No, nothing. Nothing at all.
Right,
so yeah. But I just
felt right.
Yeah, I thought, what's the worst that can happen? It's an EasyJet flight home.
Yeah.
Right? So I just literally said, I'm going to go for it. It was a toss-up between Madrid and Barcelona. I looked at, and this was how naive I was really at the time, as I looked at Madrid and went, they've got more professional teams, but it was more professional teams at La Liga type level rather than, because they've got roughly the same. Yeah. Went to Madrid, first year, went to so many different clubs, just learning, just taking everything in. meeting people, going down there, learning the language, seeing how people coach over there. But I was lucky enough at the same time to be working as a teacher and a PE teacher and English teacher. So I was really lucky that I got such a well-rounded view of kids, really, in terms of
the whole education philosophy out there.
And like, so what time they turn up for school, how the teachers are with them, what resources they have, who picks them up from school, what's the punishment like, how, literally everything to then go into. And that was, I had a strange dichotomy in terms of I worked in what people would term a poor school, which was in a poorer area, but literally 10 minutes down the road, I worked in a school across the road from the Bernabeu, the Real Madrid Stadium, which all kind of what you say rich kids. So I was literally like Monday at one, Tuesday at the other. One day I was morning in one, Tuesday and afternoon the other. But it was just such an amazing experience to truly understand it. So then when I got the chance, and then oddly enough, I was offered 2 jobs at the same time. And that, to be fair, I don't think I've ever spoken about this before. I think there's a few people that know about it. So I worked in the 3rd division after a year. I got approached to be an assistant manager or first team coach there. Very Spanish time. So we got hired, got fired a week later.
Right.
Got hired back the week after that, and then
that does sound very Spanish.
Very Spanish. So, and then we were unfortunately it was a really tough time for us. The club had just been promoted. Youngest, I think our average age was 19. Average age in the division was 26, 27. So it was really tough, and we ended up. I think we got fired, or the manager got fired, and had to go in about October, November time, I think.
Okay.
But then at the time, because of the school I was working at, some of the teachers found out that I used to work academy football in the UK, and they said, "Oh, Victor, he works for Real Madrid." I said, "All right, okay." So then I got speaking to him, and he said, "Oh wow, it was a good experience." I've been to the academy a few times. Then at the same time, I went to speak to Alcorcon, but I got offered 2 jobs at the same time, either to go and work with the under-9s at Real Madrid or the under-18s at Alcorcon.
Wow, that's a decision there, isn't
it?
Right.
So the funny thing is, I made the right decision. And for me, I made the right decision because that's my passion. That age group, that got to win.
The older ones, the under 18s.
That's where my passion lies as a coach.
Yep.
And the experience I got. So I was only with the under 18s for a month, 6 weeks, and then I got promoted to the under 19s, which is the Journey La. That's the big the job that everyone wants. Obviously after the first team and the B team. But if I'd have gone to Real Madrid, I'd probably been in the papers, British coach working for Real Madrid. But I wouldn't have learned anything, or I wouldn't have learned as much. Because at that point, Real Madrid under 9s are just battering everyone. 5, 6, 7, 10, 12-0 every week. So
they've got the players already, haven't they? You've got to put them out there and let them play, right?
I'd have got a lovely kit stash, but that's about
it. Well, what a great learning journey. I mean, it just shows you, doesn't it, that sometimes you've got to put yourself out there and just try things and see how it goes. And we ask our players to put themselves out there and learn as they go. And I think as coaches, we've got to do the same,
Definitely.
right? So back in 2007-8, when you had, you you wanted to coach a certain way, and the mentor, you said Ray, he said it sounds like a great bit of advice, be the best at it. Things have changed now. I mean, obviously there's influences, the Spanish influences, we see it a lot more, especially at the higher levels of the game. Do you think that's kind of transcended into coaching at all levels in the UK now, or is it still, are we still kind of not on the same place as maybe the continental players are, particularly in Spain?
Yeah, I mean, I think Spain never coached that way in the 90s. They were very, if you look at even like Euro 96, they didn't play that way. They played fast, attacking, direct football, and it was a conscious change from them. And I think we've had a conscious change here. I think it comes more naturally to them due to the climate, the culture, everything. It does come more natural. But I played against teams every week and every other week that would smash it forward, right? Yep. In the 3rd division especially, because it's lower down. Every country's the same. The lower you go, the quality kind of dissipates a little bit. But I think here, the difference is here we call it the right way. Now I think that's the problem, because there isn't a right way, right? So I did a scout report, if you like, on Atletico Madrid the year that they won the title, and the reason I did that was because they were playing the wrong way, if you put it in inverted commas, in Spain, but absolutely tearing it up. It
was effective.
Yeah, it was super effective, and it was because it was the opposite to everyone else. And it worked really well, and obviously the manager's unbelievable, but I just think the problem we have is the right way, and we're still, I think we're not at the early shoots, well, probably the next stage, but people are starting to understand a little bit more and questioning things a little bit more, which is really important. But even this whole playing out from the back is fine, but does it work every time?
Yeah, exactly.
And you need to know that. Your players need to understand that. Like, when I've taken over under 18s, under 19s teams, the first, while I'm trying to implement the way that I want to play, I'll say to the keeper, play what you see.
Yeah.
If you want to kick it long, kick it long. If you kick it long 3 times in a row, I'm going to ask you why.
Yeah.
But that's because I want to play a different way. But you can't force decisions on players. You've got to help educate them, right? Yeah. So if a centre back shows short, or they go down the side of the box and you punt it long, well, you need to tell them to move up first. So it's all learning, but the players have got to feel comfortable
and know the why you're doing
Absolutely.
these things. What's the purpose in it? Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, superb. All right, well, thank you for that. So, like, if you're happy to cover a few things, I know you've done this previously, but really, firstly, rondos.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say you are an expert on rondos, whether you like it or not. Okay. So we're putting you up there on the pedestal straight away. But I guess the slight concern is, and please correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but I'm not sure that across the board we really get rondos from what I've seen coaching wise. I'm going to say in England, because that's all I've really seen, and whether or not we use them as effectively as we could use them, and whether you think, what your thoughts are around how we use them and could we use them better. But even before that, maybe from your perspective, just tell us, what is a rondo in the simplest terms.
Well, we've got rondos is now a sweeping term for rondos and positional games.
Okay.
Right? So sometimes people will see a positional game and they'll go with like a 4v4 plus 3, and that's a rondo.
Yep.
That's fine. It's not an incorrect statement, but as it progresses to a higher level, if you like, it's more positional because you're putting players in certain positions. But a rondo is essentially a square. Like a lot of people in England call them boxes, right? It's just like a possession square where we can work on a number of different things. The technical aspect is passing, speed of pass, receiving with an open body, head up, look at awareness for where the defenders are, movement to receive, and then if you look at the kind of the tactical, even at the earlier ages, it is recognising the space, when to switch it. If it's a 4v2, when to play it through the middle, can I hold on to it for half a second longer to create more space in behind. There's a number of different things, but as I say, you've got some people will start with 4v0, so just a square of 4, so we're getting used to that body movement and stuff like that for the technical aspect. Me personally, I don't really use that because you could do the same with a 4v1, but there's pressure there. But again, a 4v1 is pretty easy, and very rarely on the outside we see the players moving because they don't really have to, because there's not much opposition in there. But essentially they're just small possession based games, and I say as they progress to position games, it's more relatable to on the field. And as I've you talk about like rondos appearing on the pitch, and that's when you get to that next level, but for, like, in terms of a coach's understanding and a player's understanding. But essentially that's what they are. They're just games within a game.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah, I get that. Brilliant. Thank you. So you said about doing like maybe starting off with like 4v0 or 4v1. Throughout this episode, I'm sure I'm going to keep leaning towards the younger age groups because that's kind of where I'm at. So, talking under 7s to under 12s-ish. Would you say then with rondos at those age groups, and I totally appreciate his age and stage appropriate, how good they are at that age could vary dramatically from an under 10 player. But let's imagine they're half decent players, but starting with the 4v1 would be a good starting point for most coaches and players just to get a feel for what a rondo is. Would you say that's a fair start? Right?
I think so, because you can coach the technical aspects, but there is some pressure there because there is defender truck, so you don't have all day. Right. So if you take a bad touch and you put your head down as a player, you're going to get got. Right. So that is why I would, me personally, I would tend to stay away from unopposed. The only type of unopposed I've done with the youngest levels is kind of like a 3v0. So you imagine it's kind of like an L shape. So you've got a box, you've got an L shape. So the player at the bottom corner starts with it. If he passes up the way, the other player's got to move up in relation to where the ball is to keep that triangle all the time.
Okay.
But again, so that is
taking that free space up to constantly.
That's it. So then again, if that player who receives it then passes there, then they could pass back and that player's got to move down or across. But it's just understanding when to move, where to move, because initially players will just run to that cone. Right? And they won't understand why or where, or they're not ready to. So that's probably me personally. That's probably the only unopposed one I would use. From there, I would go to 4v1. And again, it's about how you coach it. It's challenge that player in the middle to win it.
Yeah.
Right.
And what you're using it for, I guess, as well, to some extent.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, really, a 4v1 is pretty technical. It's not that tactical yet. You want players to move, and you can still coach quote unquote tactical elements within that. But you're really looking at that receive, open body
shape,
move,
awareness.
All of that. And as I say, you need that defender.
Yeah.
You need that defender in there to be working hard.
Yeah. I'll come back to that actually, because that's what I had a question about that. From my own experience, that could be a challenge, but you might have ways to help me with this one. So look, and again, not to get you hung here on Twitter, I'm going to ask the question: do you think we coach it properly? Now, I'm sure there's coaches out there that do a fantastic job with Rondos, but generally speaking, do you think we've got it right over here, and do we use it right? And again, particularly in the foundation phase, I'm not sure how close you are to foundation phase, but from what you've seen and who you spoke to, do you think we use Rondos right, or have we got them wrong in many cases? Do we just see a clip of a Premier League side doing it as a warm-up before a game and think, oh, I'm going to do that on Saturday as part of my training session? Or have we improved a lot on that?
I think people have improved a lot. I still don't think they're used correctly in general. Obviously, like I say, there's examples of people who use them terribly, people who use them fantastically. I would say in general, they're still quite misunderstood, and I just don't think... I mean, the same with everything is the devil's in the detail.
Yeah.
And you've got to know what you're using it for, why you're using it. Does it link to what you're doing afterwards? Is it going to link to the rest of the week? Is it going to link to the message that you're going to be portraying on game day? It's got to link to all that. But I think the biggest pet peeve of mine when it comes to Rondos is the lack of movement from the players on the outside. Whatever that is, the players are very static, or if it's a 4v2 and the ball's at the bottom of the square, if you like, it's tough to explain verbally. But like a lot of people will say, the two on the side have to come all the way down, which doesn't make too much sense because you're not really affecting the opponent. Yes, it makes that split pass potentially easier, but that's only depending on what the defenders do. But you can affect, like, if you bring one closer, it's really difficult. So say for example, I get the ball and I receive it on my right foot, then I want the person on the right to me to come closer, and the other one to come down a bit but stay kind of like a parallelogram, if you like, right? And then that person, the split pass to stay in front of me, move over slightly to the right hand side or my right hand side, because then I'm affecting the opponent. If I play it back and I play like a 1-2, the player closest to me, the defender's going to be drawn in even closer. And then if I open out, I'm going to draw the opposite defender closer. So now I've got two options again. Yeah. So then it's little details like that. But as a coach, you've really got to understand what you're looking for, and you've got to be able to communicate that with players and get them to understand why. Yeah. And I think that's a difficult part. But then that goes all the way to, like, everyone has been, I would say maybe 18 months, 2 years now, has been absolutely red hot. Could be a lot longer than that, on the 4v4+3, which is a positional game, and it's an unbelievable exercise. It's really, really good. You could potentially use it
for 1,000,001 things.
Yeah. And you could probably put it in almost every session. Give or take. Yeah. But people don't use it properly.
If you constrain it in a certain way, it can work on most things you want to cover.
And the thing is, like, so just because an exercise can be used to work on 10 different things doesn't mean we need to work on 10 different things every time we use it. And I think that's another thing. So it's become that Pep Guardiola exercise. That's fine, but that's what you're using it for. And that's the difficult part for coaches. And the thing is, like, there is a lot of information out there. You've just got to choose your information. Where are you getting it from? Where did that person get it from? What's the credibility level like? And I think nowadays especially, you have to be careful with that word credibility, because you've got people that have got 20,000 Twitter followers, for example. That doesn't make you credible. It's the source of your information that makes you credible. What have you done? Yeah, you might have looked at it, you might have watched a YouTube video, but I could watch a YouTube video and my take could be completely different. But the credibility I mean is, where are they getting that information from? That's the difference, because there's a lot of false prophets, especially on Twitter. And there's people who I say especially on Twitter, that's for coaches, just in general, there's a lot of false prophets. But you just need to, if you really want to use it, you've got to do your best to understand it. You've got to do yourself justice, and you've got to do your players justice, and you've got to add it in at the right time, know what you're looking for, etc., etc. So it's I think it's got a lot better. I do think it has gotten a lot better, but I just think that we've still got a ways to go.
Superb. I totally agree. I think from my own experience, I think I discovered Rondos maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and even that sounds embarrassing to say. I mean, they've been around for at least 10 years, if not a lot longer, but certainly at least 10 years.
Since 1974.
Oh, there you go.
That's
then look,
that's the exact date.
But until Pep did it didn't count, did it? So there you go. Look,
No.
but I think and I was guilty of finding a YouTube video or seeing something on Facebook Coaches Prayer and think, I'm going to do that, and having no context around what I was doing it for or its purpose. So I think, so making sure that actually if you're going to use it, I guess any practice, it's got to have a contextualised place in what you're doing, not just for that individual session and the players you've got, but also in the broader curriculum you're trying to cover maybe over a period, whether that's 4 or 6 weeks, a season, whatever it might be. It's got to fit in somewhere else. So can we just come back? So the 4v4 plus 3.
Yeah.
So you've got your 4v4 in the box, in the square. Mm-hmm. The plus 3 in the middle as well.
So you've got, if you imagine it's a rectangle, so it's not square, so it's elongated. So it'll be like 15 by 20. So it's not like too long. So you have 4 players inside, 4 players outside, and 3 neutral players. 1 on the bottom of the square, 1 in the middle, and 1 on the top of the square or the rectangle. And the team on the outside, the 4 on the outside, play with the neutral players, so it becomes 7v4.
I get you.
So again, if you imagine you've got 4 on the outside, we can go here and create a triangle. So we can do it here, or we could do this, get the pressure, play in. So again, if we want to talk tactically, it's behind the line of opposition pressure if we drag them forwards. But then we can play it here. So again, or we could on one side, we can keep that the 2 neutral players and the player on the right hand side on the outside. We can create that triangle, draw the opposition over, switch it to the other side, draw the opposition over to the left, and then play diagonally. So we're starting to work on concepts, or one of the big ones is up, back and through. So we could go neutral player on the bottom to the neutral player in the middle, who plays it back, who chips it over, or plays it through either diagonally or to the neutral player on the top. And again, it's all relatable to the game.
Yep.
But then again, if you flip that, you can work on transition, because if the team in the middle win the ball, the team on the outside come in and try and win, and they go out.
I see.
So, that's what, as I said, that is a fantastic exercise for working on. In terms of the concepts for positional play, you can work on at least 75% of them. Doesn't mean we have to every single time. And that's what's important. And the thing is, you have to, same with a 4v2 rondo, you can use it to work on a split pass. You can use it to say when the ball gets given to a player who's got a little bit more time and space, and you pass it straight away. Hold on, relax on it a little bit, so we're drawing the opposition over to them.
Somebody
play
in first,
quickly.
create the space.
Yeah. Or we can use it for the 2 defenders for pressing.
Yeah. One
goes, one covers. Okay, so if you see that your defending teammate is going here and that only pressure's there, so when do you start moving? So that's really what we want. And in Spain, the translation, you call them global exercises, and that's what we're looking for all the time.
Okay, yeah. I
think we'll probably talk about it later when it comes to like layering practices and understanding it. If the picture in terms of the setup is the same, and I'm switched from working on the attacking team to the defending team, I don't really need to worry about the attacking team, because they know what they're doing.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, if the standard drops, hey, look, I know I'm working with the defenders, but come on, that's
it's reminding rather reinforcing practice rather than teaching.
That's it. But then if you think you're working on defenders, so you have to, come on, work hard, like you're doing this, but now the players on the outside have to work even harder.
Yeah.
And I'm not coaching them, right?
Yep.
But
you're raising the standard of practice by making sure everyone's putting the effort in to get the best out of it.
And that's what we're looking for, little bits like that, and that's the key to using Rondo, because the thing is, you don't, and I've worked as a consultant for clubs in America and stuff, and I say, oh yeah, but the parents want different exercises. That's fine, but that's not really how methodologies work. We don't change it for the newest fad. It works. Right? The thing is, if you as a coach, you went to the club that everyone wants to go to. If you want to go to Barcelona, you see the same exercises consistently through the age groups. So what happens if you join at 10? Is a parent going to complain by the time they get to 18 that they've done a 4v2 too many times? Of course they're not. So why should that be the case in America? Yeah, you've got to explain and get buy-in on your methodology. And if the players are getting bored with it, that means they're not engaged, they're not bought in, and they're not learning. Because everybody loves to learn and progress. Yeah. And if they feel that they're getting better at it, they're going to
That's
be
a positive outcome, right?
They're going to be happy, and they're definitely not going to go home and complain.
And like you said, I think you can take the same practice, right, but actually what you want to get out of it can be different depending on the age of the players and where they're at, isn't it? You can make it more challenging, you can adjust it accordingly to step it up. So
Definitely.
you could have the same practice for an under-7s to under-17s, but actually what you want as a coach out of that practice, it might look the same in setup and design as a rondo, but actually what you want out of it, obviously a bit more challenging for the 17s would be for the 7s, because they're at that different level by that stage.
Definitely. Or you do a 4v2 at under 7s, and then you do a 6v2 or 6v4 at an older age group, and instead of one 4v2 square, it's two 4v2 squares, but then the ball moves a further away, and then the other defenders have, and it's literally the same picture. It's the same picture. It's just two squares next to each other rather than one. But then more decisions have to be made. I have to recognise, it's my turn to press, or it's my turn to. That's all it is.
Well, you see, this is the point, I think, and again, I'm generalising here, but my slight worry is the fact that the things that you've worked on at under 18s at a decent level with very good players, and the practice you put in place that you believe in, and I certainly believe in too. My worry is that if we don't get some of these things at the earlier stages of the players, younger year groups, that when they get to you at the under 18s, they're not as good as they could possibly have been if we'd done things right at the younger years, if you know what I mean. So trying to get some of this stuff from you, and hopefully coach picks up through this episode of ways in which we can better use these things, will just mean that actually when they hit that higher level and that higher age, when they will be doing this stuff, almost guaranteed, that they're more able to do it, and hopefully even kick on and do it even better than they might have done otherwise.
Yeah, definitely.
So defending them, because we use rondos, we do rondos, and I did something actually the weekend that I'm quite pleased with on the defenders, but you might slate with this, but I will share it with you in a minute. But that there's a challenge because the effort doesn't come from the people in the middle that are doing the defending work, the out of position players essentially. Then the quality of the activity you're doing, the rondo, you're not challenging the other players enough to make it worthwhile. So is there any tricks there? I mean, besides obviously creating a good working environment and having the right players on there, which I totally get that. Is there any other ways in which you can make sure those guys out of possession are applying themselves as fully as we want them to?
I think it's about incentivisation, and you know your players, or hopefully you know your players. Right, say for example you're working at under 9s or under 10s. Pretty much every time that I've ever worked with it is they want to do penalties at the end of the session.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go yellows versus blues. The blues are the defenders, right? So if the blues win the ball, that's a point. Whoever's got the most points gets to take the penalties first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's little bits like that, or as I say, you know your players, you know what works for them,
Yeah.
or so they have to go and collect the balls, or as I say, whatever age group. The thing is for me, like if I was doing something like that with older players, I'd want to put two defenders in the middle, like that, as much as possible, right? And then I'd be like, right, okay, so you were a defender, so let's defend then. Yeah. Why not putting any effort in? And the thing is, with older players, you can be a little bit tougher,
more direct, and
be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are you not doing it? But again, you've got to incentivise them.
And like I'd say, it is important, though, right, to make sure the players off the ball are working hard to make sure they get into the session. Yeah. I've seen it before where you just got the token gesture. In my own sessions, I've seen the players in there, and some of the ones that they'll be up for 100% all the time, and others that just literally you've got to find something to get them to apply themselves because they won't be different otherwise. Yeah, but
there's that. I suppose the Spanish way of doing it, if you get 5 passes, 10 passes, everyone picks up the ball and they clap, and it's a bit humiliating. Yeah. And again, we're a very nicey type culture. You can't do that, you can't make. Well, I mean, that's real life. That's what happens if you don't put any effort in.
Yeah, exactly.
People are going to do it. And that's what you've got to be careful with the limit of that, right? Of course, with especially 7 and 8 year olds. But it could be like I'd say my first role in London was working for Ilford. So the semi-pro, I don't know if they still are. They were in the Ryman League, and I was working with under 16s. A lot of like tough kids, and they were They were like getting involved in scuffles in matches and stuff like that. And my way to stop that, I said, right, okay, you can play like that, but anybody who gets a yellow card has to sing before training the next time. And I said, what happens if 2 people get it? I said, well, it's a duet. Isn't it? Right? But that was, but it just broke the ice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I remember the first time doing it, and the kid super quiet. It was, and he said, "Oh, I don't want to do a duet. I want to do," because whatever the other player was
got booked as well.
Was saying he was like, "No, I'm not singing that song." So he sung the Tweenies. Like, remember the TV show? But like everyone's, but the thing is, it just
took the edge off it, right?
That's all it is. But the thing is, and I just made it. I was like, look, I've got pink bibs. If you get sent off, you're wearing the pink bib. And the thing, again, you've got to be careful, right? Like with how far you push it. Yeah. But these were tough. These were tough lads, and it was about taking a bit of that off. And like, you're too talented to be running in and just being physical. Let's break away a little bit of that outer shell or that layer and just focus on playing. Like, stop getting in fights.
And like, if you've got the right environment around that, you can do these things, can't you? You're dead right. But there'll be kids all up and down the country at the weekend now in pink bibs and singing songs.
Right,
it's your fault.
But it's little things like, so if people, I hate when players are late. If you're going to be late, tell me, right? And I got buy-in from them early because there was another coach there, and I was late one day, and I turned up so the session hadn't really started. And I said, "Did anyone got anything to say to me?" They're like, "No." I was like, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah." I went, "Well, I was late. Is no one going to ask me why I was late?" Or I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't think we could do that." Or if this is the standards of the team, then you've got to do the same to me.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it's about being a little bit vulnerable. If you're going to, not as I say, humiliate's the wrong word, but if you're going to push that boundary of outside the comfort zone, especially with certain players that are a bit tougher, you've got to be vulnerable yourself and open yourself up to that and hold yourself to the same standards. You've just got to. Yeah,
makes total sense. Right, can I try and explain to you what I did on Saturday and see if you think it's a rondo and whether it was a good thing or bad? I'm open for the feedback and the abuse. I thought it was quite good, but I'm not even sure if it was a rondo or not. But bearing in mind, I was hoping we were going to see you this week, so I was thinking if I do this, I could share the experience with you. So under sevens, let's put it in context. So under sevens, 7 players, a good level for their age, but they're still under sevens, right? I'm totally sold on the fact that the more time the players spend on the ball, the better for them. So I get that. However, I still personally believe that passing is part of the game. And at least if they understand the fact that passing is part of the game, they've got a decision to make then. So it's not just a case of stand the ball and beat everyone and try and score your goals. Because we want that and we encourage that 100%. But actually the right time sometimes is to share the ball. So we did a passing practice on Saturday, which we don't usually do. So it looks like this. I appreciate this is a podcast, so trying to do something visual isn't ideal, but it's quite straightforward. So 7 players. So essentially we had a 3v2 in the middle. So 3v2 in the middle with an end zone player either end. So it's nice in a little safety end zone. So I'm going to guess 15 by 20 space. So but a 3 or 4 yard end zone either end with the player in there. So what the idea being that the end zone player would use the 3 in the middle to try and get the ball from through the 3 in the middle to the other end zone. And every time they did, they get 10 points and then back the other way. So it was directional, so we're working through. So it was fine. It was what it was. So the players are getting out wide, someone's coming short, someone's going out for it, and and if the 2 could win the ball and interrupt the play, then the team had to reset their points again. And we tried to get to 100 points, 10 5 either way, so 10 points to go for each end zone. Does that kind of make sense? But I did find actually the 2 in the middle, if it was the right 2, they'd work hard, and actually they were quite challenging for the 3, because 3v2 essentially, although you can go back to the end zone players if you need to. It's still a 5v3 under 7s isn't a massive advantage numerically. But with the wrong 2 in the middle, there wasn't always the application to try and win the ball back. So what I did was, and this is why I thought I was clever, but you might say this is the worst idea in the world. You shouldn't have done it in the reasons why. But I put in goals. So we had these kicks the 12 by 6 goals, which we had ready for the game at the end. But I put them in, and what I said was, right, the goals aren't in play until the middle 2 win the ball. And if the middle 2 win the ball, they can score in either goal. And that's their thing. So suddenly, kind of the middle 2 were up for it because, and also then we had transition in it because, I wasn't worried about transition too much, but there was more sense not to lose the ball from the 3 in the middle and think about retaining possession and maybe playing backwards to go forwards again. But and also then it's like if the other team score a goal, then not only do you lose your points, but they get 100 points themselves, kind of thing. So it kind of ramps everything up. So was that any good?
Good.
Polite, but is that? Would you say that's a rondo, or am I gone in something completely different here?
No, I mean it's verging on a positional game because you're working on something more tactical at that point.
Okay.
So can you do that in rondos? Yes, but it's just a bit more contextual because that's what you want to see in the game. So you're starting to say that bottom player is the goalkeeper, the top player is the striker. As far as if you were building it up for game context, and the 3 in the middle is that midfield 3 because it's 5-a-side.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. So again, that's good, and I think the thing is the way that you incentivise them obviously worked with the goals, and that's what you want because the thing is, again, you could do that to work on transition, the same exercise, and the players know what they're looking for, and all it means is, you know how to do this and you work on that too,
Yeah.
or however many you want doing you might go 3v3 if it's a transition one, right, and or whatever it is, but that's exactly what you want to do, and you need to find that way to incentivize it. The thing is, you weren't really, like you say, you weren't really focused on a transition, so whatever their goal was or whatever their incentive was isn't really that important, as long as it resets the game and we start working on what we want.
And that was the point, to get them motivated to work hard to challenge the players, but also get the game restarted with if they win the ball, rather than kick it out. What are you going to say to the players? They don't want to kick the ball 2 against 5 or just kick it out. So I was thinking, what do I do? I've got the Kieran approval. I'm happy with that. I'll take that. All right.
You don't really, especially at that age, you don't really want to be encouraging players just to kick the ball away.
And even just
adults, they get it because they're going for it because they get the context. But kids, they're already panicking at that age, right? So you want, if there's a target, whatever it is, it could be run into that. It could be as long as there's a target, it's going to be better. Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, I'll take that as happily. All right. So I think they're following on from this then. So I think we spoke about Rondos, and I really appreciate the input there, and I've certainly picked up a few ideas around how to use it and making sure we're doing it the right way and putting in context to the bigger picture of what we're trying to do. So it kind of builds into positional play then, I guess. Yeah. Now this is the bit where I've heard you speak a few times about this, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not the sharpest tool in the box, and you lost me a few times. And probably because the age group I work with. So again, I really want to understand positional play and what it looks like at that, under 18s and up level that you've done. But mainly because I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing with the younger players, so they get there in a position that's going to be right for you. So I guess when you're talking about positional play, what is positional play, what does that look like for you at the older age groups? Then maybe talk about some things we can do at the younger age groups to get us there. Yeah, well, positional play is just a game model. My way of kind of explaining it is a way to view the game, a way to view football. Like if I watch a game of any team, I view it through the prism of they quote unquote should be doing this and they're not.
Yeah.
Like for example, I went to I was back home in Glasgow for the weekend. I went to Ibrox. First time in 3 years, and obviously there's a big transition there at the moment. Steven Gerrard's there, but just watching the team, I was like, there's so many things that they're doing wrong, like from my point of view in terms of the way that I view it. But it's just positional play is a game model. It has set concepts that we look to work on at the top. Like if you're looking at the top age group, there's 12, 13 concepts that all fit together to make us play a certain way. Like the biggest one is creating superiority behind the opposition line of pressure, which is a very long-winded way of saying kind of between lines. Yeah. And saying getting players between lines is again simplifying it a lot, because you can have pressure in front or to the side. You can break the line whichever way. Sorry, but it's there are a lot of concepts, and I mean I think the thing is with positional play at the top level, it is essentially game theory. Yeah, so it's just kind of like game theory at the top level. So it's essentially you have to understand who your best players are and where on the pitch you want to get them on the ball, and then it's how do I affect the opposition to make that happen. So it's I'm going to do this so that they do that, so that I can do what I want, really. So like, say for example you really want your holding midfielder on the ball, but the other team like to press. What's the best way to get them on them, or not the best way, what is it, a simple kind of introduction is you want to flatten that press. So you might want to play with a back three, or you might want to get your centre backs and drop someone else in and go as wide as possible so that they come and press man to man and they're going to go for it. So what that does is it creates space between their forward and midfield units most of the time. So it just means that you've got someone kind of in there, or a couple of people in there to get it. So obviously a lot of people would then mark the holding midfielder, and then that's why things like inverted fullbacks become a thing, because then someone, one or two, they come in and then they can, because someone's marking the holding midfielder, we still flatten the press, so we play back to the goalkeeper, and then the fullback comes inside in space, where do I want it, so that, again, the fullback might get the ball, then that draws the press, and we play into an 8 or a 10 who drops it back to the holding midfielder. Now we have the player that we want on the ball to drive forward or to switch play or to whatever. So, but it's just the way that the concepts fit together is really, really important. And what you tend to see, even at the top level with teams who use it, is goes really, really well, and then it falls off, and you've got this empty possession for possession's sake because one of the concepts are broken down, or something's not happening, or something's not working, or it's a different change in personnel, which is forced. And you've really got to adapt and change. And the thing is, at the top level, you're working with the best of the best, so you might have to change your strategy within the game or your tactic within the game based on the personnel, and that should only take 2 or 3 days. At under sevens, it's very different.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest thing is when you mentioned taking position play all the way down. I've seen quite a lot of people, especially on Twitter, talk about using all the concepts with under sevens, eights, tens. And I don't agree with that. I think it's not right. It's overload. Obviously, that depends on the group of players, but really, we only want to be focusing on 2 or 3 of the concepts at under 8s to under 10s, especially the first season. And then we can layer it up and we can add more things on there. But really, what we're looking for at the youngest age groups is the positioning in terms of where do we want players to be. We want them to understand their position. Rondos, really, but it's more to like help your mate, really. If he's got the ball, what are you doing? I say for me the 2 biggest that we need at the youngest age groups, or the 2 most important, are switching play and 1v1s, or creating 1v1s, 2v1s.
Yeah.
I think that for me they're the ones to work on right at the start, because if you look at switch and play, in order to switch play, we need that positioning. So we need that player on the opposite side to understand I need to be over here. Why am I over here? Oh, because everyone else is over there.
It's where the space is.
So it's where the space. And again, I've heard people say, play in the light, don't play in the shadow. If you're too close to your teammates, you're in the shadow. There's a million and one different ways in which you could convey that to your players. But you're already working on positioning at that point.
Yeah, and the idea being to try and create either 1v1 or 2v1 overloads.
Yeah, so initially we want 1v1, but then we want players to understand that numerical superiority or that overload, right? That's what we want. So again, if we're looking at if we want to play out from the back, if you want to call it that, in age groups, we're looking at 2 centre-backs normally, or normally 2 centre-backs and a goalkeeper. Okay, that's 3v1.
Yep.
We're already working on a rondo. Yep. So if we're done 3v1 on Monday, we can get it, right?
See where it goes into it,
It's just a rondo. It's just the same. Right, so that's the context we need to remember what we did on Wednesday. Yeah, it's this.
There's your transference, then that's how it works.
That's all it is. And the thing is, you've got to be consistent with it. But then when the centre back gets it, and you've got a striker and whatever, say that striker comes down a bit, comes close. Well, that's another 3v1 or 3v2. Okay, but there's a lot of people over here, so
switching play.
Yeah, so but if the player on the other side comes in, right, you can let them come in. That's a quote unquote mistake that they've got to make. Yeah. But at the same time, let's say, why did you come over? Oh, because we were help. Do you think you're more help here or over there? Oh, probably over here. So if I get the ball over there, would you rather get the ball by yourself over there and you can run? Yeah. So maybe next time you can stay over there. Do what you want. But as I say, at the younger age groups, about getting that buy-in. So then, say for example, it does get switched. And if you watch Barcelona under 9s, under 10s, they're constantly switching play, and then you get the ball. Because the thing is, as it goes over, working on that positioning again.
Yeah.
Who's closer? Who can do a 2v1? Is it outside? Is it inside? Or can they just dribble in? Can they shoot? Can they? Yeah. Right. So we're working on the things that players want to do at that age. We're educating them in the fundamentals of positional play. We'll get to superiority behind the opposition line of pressure. We'll get to width and depth. We're already kind of working on it through positioning. We'll get to up, back and through. We'll get to all that, right? But if we talk about day one, day dot, working on it for the first season, why do we need to work on more than that initially? There's no point. If we're talking about a player who's 8, 9, 10 years old, they've got however many 10 years in the game.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not to say that they'll move on and another coach will coach it that way, but if we're providing them with, okay, I can understand it, if the ball's over there and there's 2 or 3 of my teammates over there, I can stay over here, the ball will find me. And that's one of the biggest skills in football is the ball will find me. I don't need to go and get it.
And trust it, especially when they're younger kids, because they got to trust that space is going to be worth it for them.
But then if you say, why are you waiting over there? Because when I get it, I can dribble. Because every kid wants to dribble, every kid wants to shoot. Right, so it's about feeding into what it is that they need, and then if you've got a talented group of players, okay, let's work on creating a bigger rondo. But we've only got 5 players on the pitch, including the goalkeeper. So why are we trying to play out big, massive patterns from the back? And can you choreograph? Can you use choreography? Absolutely. Me personally, I work conceptually, so I work on a concept, again, I tend to work with older players, so it's easier to work on that. Okay, so like the big problem my two centre midfielders drop in. Don't drop in, stay there. The ball will find you. Stay there.
Yeah.
But I had 11 players on the pitch. I don't need. If I've got 5v5, I don't need that, because even in 5v5, the pitch is quite big for the players. So
there's plenty of space.
So just use it. And the thing is, you don't need to be all the way over the other side because they can't kick it that far. But it's understanding, what is that distance? Why are you there? If I get it, can I dribble? So if I've got it and I've dribbled, who's coming to help? So yeah, you've got to contextualise everything and understand it. Then, as I say, if you move to 11, 12, 13, 14, of course we can start adding things. You know, at 10 to 12 is different. You just layer it up, and then we can start with, okay, bigger rondos, because we're 7v7 now. Okay, better understanding of position. So now we want this centre forward to be a bit more of a centre forward and stay long, because we can control this here. Because if we play to the centre backs and then they press, and then we can play into the holding midfielder. Okay, now we're being a little bit more clever, because then what happens is then they press, but the two wide players, can they go in? But the striker can stay there. But if they play into the striker, we've got 2v1. So it all tends to build from there. It's, as a coach, we just if we as coaches want to use it, we've just got to understand it, and that's the biggest thing. Is, and you don't need to be all things to all players right from the start. You've got to coach what they need, and that's all they really need at that point. Because we've still got all the technical skills, we've still got movement, you've still got coordination, you've still got all that. Like, okay, right. So if you're truly in this for long-term player development, why am I throwing 12, 13 concepts at a 10-year-old? I don't need to. I don't need to, because they don't have or most don't have the cognition to be able to take all that on all the time. And you're certainly not going to have a team of players that are like that.
No. And they want to play, don't they, as well? They want to just do the thing. So do you think then, if you've designed the setup of the rondo right, for the age that you've got, the age group that you've got, the rondo itself can do the teaching? I'm not trying to say just the game does teaching, you just throw a ball and let them play, but I don't want to be too prescriptive to the younger sevens, really. I like the game to do the teaching where it can, because I'm not talking so much and they're doing it and they're learning from themselves. Do you think that's possible with this? Because it sounds like it is. And I would imagine you need to be more prescriptive maybe as the players get older, especially if they've not kind of had the foundation prior to that when they come to you. But do you think you can do this without being without overly intervening in the session? My worry is that we put this out there and people say, I'm going to do stuff, but I need to make sure that the players get it there if I'm going to keep stopping this rondo and talk about position and getting wide and showing for the ball and stuff, where in my head I'm thinking, you might need some of that stuff, but really if you let the game go enough, they'll probably get it with a bit of time and if the setup's right.
I mean, I think the best way I've found to explain it is we train scenarios or situations. Okay. We don't use drills. So if I'm doing a 4v1 or a 4v2 or a 5v3, why? It's just got to be for a specific part in the game. It's just got to be the same.
So they can then see where that was going to fit in when they go into the match.
Yeah, or you go to the match at the end of the session and something happens and you go, remember we just did that? You might even go to the point where you put the cones down and you're on the bigger pitch, you put the cones down and go, what's this? Oh, that's what we've done before. Oh yeah, no. Yeah. I know that, now you know that. So right, so there's different bits. But I'm very much a coach. I'm not a let the game be the teacher type person. But we can. There is more of that we can do if we get the session or the practice design down for the scenario, for the situation. And I think that again, every coach is different. I'm very much give a bit of a demo, show what I want, let it go for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Because I've worked with older players, it'll be based on a physical thing as well, and stuff like that. So, and it might be 4 minutes on, minute rest, 4 minutes. But in that minute, they're resting, but I'm explaining. So they're but you can do that at younger ages, right? You don't have to stop, stand still. You can, and I'm constantly coaching within it. And the thing is, we've all been there if we're coaches, and we've got 4 rondos going at once. We can't constantly keep an eye on it, right? And we're looking around and. It's tough to keep. So you're going to miss some things. But say for example, like for me, I knew who my starting players were going to be on a Saturday most of the time, so I put them all together. Yeah. And they got wise to that. That's fine. But I have to watch it. I have to coach it because I had to win, right? First and foremost, I had to win, which is different to an under 7. So you want to win, but you don't have to win.
It's not the priority. I totally understand. Yeah.
But it's just I think you can let it flow, but you do need to.
get those coaching points in there. You could do it in a way that's clever, right, without initially stopping all the play and having everyone standing and listening to you. I like the idea of if one player's resting, actually moments to have a word with them while the game's still going on, and then you switch them around and put that player back in, and then you've got a chance to work on the other player. And then their needs might be different. Mind that one player's not quite getting right might be what the other player's getting right, and
it's that, what do they call it, the coaching toolbox.
Yeah.
You might pull a player out and say, okay, what's going on, or that player might benefit from that, or you might stop it. But I've had it most of the time, where if I set up a Rondo positional game, I've got it 4v4+3, go. In the first 5 minutes, I won't do anything.
Just see how it unfolds and what's
see
going
what
on.
Happens.
Yeah.
Especially because I tend to deal with older players, but I won't really give them an objective, because I know that I'm going to do it for 5 minutes and stop for one. I'm going to do that for 15 minutes. So I'll just let it. I'm quite okay. So and the thing is, a lot of the time if you don't see anything, you'll see where the standard is initially. Right, and again, you can't do that with 7-year-olds or 10-year-olds, right? Or maybe 10-year-olds, but it's okay. I've not said anything, or you might just be encouraging throughout, but you're not really coaching. And then you stop. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. Let me see it. Okay, and then from that, in the last period of 5 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever it is, you go, okay, so we spoke about this. We're doing this well. I need to see a little bit more of this. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. Let me see everything. I want to make it happen. And then you might stop it during that last 5 minutes and go, we've already spoken about this. I want to see this. But again, you're in and out because you're coaching from the outside. You know your players' names. We've spoken about this. I want you to do this. Why are you not moving? Why are you not? So again, it's about for me, it's even layering your coaching points throughout the session. Like, because the thing, one of the biggest things that I do with a lot of clubs I work with, you do a 4v1 or 4v2 rondo, players on the outside. I tell you what to do, make it bigger and put everyone inside. Watch how the chaos descends. Because you don't have that line to stand on anymore. But you want them to do it on a Saturday.
So you've got to see that, right?
You've got to, so after one of the clubs I worked with in America, the first phase, if you like, everything's outside the box, 4v2. Okay, the next phase is take it away. Take it, put them inside. See if the movement's the same. If it's not, it's a very easy fix. Everyone go and stand on the outside. Okay. So if you were standing on the outside, would you run to the other side of the pitch? The other side of the box? No. So
you see the players who've got it, and then it will transfer into the match, hopefully, and those that haven't yet need a bit of work still around.
But also, at the younger age groups, they don't know why they're doing it.
No. Well, that's it gets back to that why, isn't it?
Yeah, as soon as you take away the structure, it's free for them. Okay, so if we take away the structure, let's talk about it now. Because the thing is, that there isn't that in the game. So we've got to take it, and then. But the thing, when you point it out, or you ask them that question, they'll get it. They're not silly, right? They'll get it. So once they get it, they go,
now I can say it relates in the moment.
That's it. And then you'll see another player like, don't run over there. You're supposed to be up here. Like, I've got right. And then they start teaching themselves. And then one player's got it. One player's got it. And then two players get it. And then it's clicked. We're off to the races at that point. So again, sometimes we need to take everything away. And go, okay, here you go.
Get it back there. That totally makes sense. What about out of position then? So obviously the positional play stuff sounds like I get that now. So we've got the ball, the movement we're going to make with the ball or off the ball or around the ball to progress the ball forward, and that's what you're working on. Would you use positional play practice without the ball? So would you talk to your team about what you need to do when the other team's got the ball, or is that done differently?
Well, I think that just becomes the defensive phase and how you want to do it. So like the most famous team who used positional play are Barcelona under Guardiola, and they pressed, right? And now that pressing in the transition phase comes from the positioning of the players, because you don't really want players too far away from each other. If you've got that numerical superiority or overload around you lose the ball, everyone can press. But there's how you defend is up to you. So and you've just got to be consistent with that. You've got to think about it before. When I worked at Alcohol, we pressed, so we were close to each other. We pressed. That was it. We pressed and we pressed and we pressed and we pressed, and it was fine. When I worked at Barcelona, we sat off.
Right. Okay.
We sat off, and we played a 3-4-2-1 in position. We played a 5-4-1 out of position. We couldn't press. We were 2 years younger than everyone else. And the quality, we weren't the best team in the league by any stretch of the imagination. So,
so then, if you're playing that style out of position, does that must impact then on what you do when you win the ball back and where you win it back? And so your positional play practices that you put in place and the concepts around that would have been very much about winning the ball back. Probably slightly deeper.
So we'd sit off in a medium block, and we'd go. So if you imagine my midfield was a box, two 6s, 2 10s, and I had wing backs, and I had the back 3. So then the wing backs would drop down to make a back 5, and the 2 10s would go out wide to make a 4. Right? So then we know that if, say for example, the 10 wins it, plays it there, then they start to go in, everyone opens up. So then that's the next phase, that's transition from defence to attack. But everybody knew. But then in the defensive phase, so in transition we worked on, we would press out, push everyone out, push everyone out, and because we were super open if we lost the ball, super open. But if you look at the numbers we had everywhere, we were set up to press. So we could press, but we'd press for 5 seconds and done. That's it. We can't press for any longer because we'll get ripped apart.
Too exposed.
But in the defensive phase, we sat off. I put my centre forward on their holding midfielder, or say they played a 4-2-3-1 and they had 2. If the ball went to that side centre back, we put it on the closest one, and then we just sit like this. So that really the only options was for the fullbacks to go up the side or for the wingers. Okay, play. That's where we want you to play.
That's where we're going to.
Because the thing is, if they play in there, we've got the number 10 on that side, the number 6 on that side, and the wing back. We're going to press in a 3, and we've got the touchline. Please push it in there. So, but the thing is, they'll pass to the fullback, and the fullback run up, but we're so tight. They couldn't keep moving out of space, and as soon as if the fullbacks got it, as soon as they get into our half, we start moving over and closing down. As soon as they make that pass in, because that's really the only pass they've got, unless they pass back, we press. And that's what we do. But that was based on the team, the personnel, how we wanted to play out of position, and I was influenced a lot by Antonio Conte's Italy, who kind of pressed that way. And as I said, I did a big piece on Atletico Madrid, and they sat so rigid in the middle, and that's how they got results against Barcelona. They just absolutely dominated the middle of the pitch. As soon as it went wide, they pressed, and they had a bit, even though they played 4-4-2, they had a bit of a box midfield as well. And their fullbacks were so dominant. So that's what I kind of took the influence from that, adapted it to my personnel, and then just did it. So again, the defensive phase is less positional. I think it's more the transition from attack to defence that the positional side is the most important.
I get you. Makes sense. So taking that back then to younger year groups again, is it a case of saying, well, look, really the way positional play would work for younger year groups is really getting those Rondos right. So using the Rondo practices the best way possible, so you can put the foundations in place and then layer that up accordingly as the years go on. Would that be fair to say?
That's it. And just whatever concepts you're going to use with your team, if it's switching play, let's have a few Rondos that have switching play in there, so that player gets used to waiting out there and understanding why. And then you might have a rondo over here, 5 passes, you switch play, and that player goes to goal. Because that's exactly what you want in the match. So the rondo's over here, but this is a 1v1 maybe. Right? So you might have another channel for that player to receive, go 1v1 to goal, or initially without opposition, go here or dribble, smash it in. Why? Because that's exactly what we want to see.
So you're incentivising the outcome.
That's it. Or and then later it might be a 2v1, right? Or so the player gets it, it's 1v1, but the closest person can go and help him out. But they've got to communicate. I'm going, right? So then it becomes we're layering it up. And we're progressing, because the first time you do that, you might not do it. The second time you do that, it spins back round to do that exercise again. That's when you might add the 2v1.
Makes total sense.
But then when the players get into it, the closest player into the match, the closest player is then going to go and do it. And 2v1 is really important.
So you mentioned it a few times. I'm not sure we did actually go into detail, but just you talk about layering. Just so we're perfectly clear, what do you mean by layering, and how does that work in practice?
Well, layering can be viewed in a few different ways. You've got to layer your practices in terms of the coaching points and what you work on. I think when I talk about layering, I'm also talking about using the same exercises for defence and attack, so that the players are now the offensive players who we coached in the first time using it. Now we're coaching the defensive players, but the attacking players are now being challenged to a different level. So we're layering it up. They know what's expected. The standards don't drop in terms of what we expect from the technical, tactical side of things. But it's really important to as I mentioned earlier, players can get bored very easily. So you've got to constantly be stimulating that. And we were speaking before we got started, and I gave you the example of that difficulty versus complexity that I had with my team. Now the difficulty is how long it lasts for, how far you run, how big the space is, small the space is. That's a difficulty, but the complexity is the type of decisions that have to be made. And my team were under 18s in Barcelona, good level, some really good players. I had ex-Barca player, ex-Espanyol player in my team, but I could put the difficulty as high as I wanted and they could deal with it. If I jumped to complexity too quickly, it would completely break down.
Yeah.
So you've got to layer it up, and that can take months. Right?
I think some coaches as well. That's a really good point, because I think we can miss that as a coach. I can miss that. I could not see why the session's not working, and if I don't understand the element that's not quite working, I can't fix it, can I? And that's a good distinction between two key fundamental things that could go wrong. So is it the actual, I guess, the design practice, the setup of the thing, the difficulty you put in place, or is it the complexity of what you're asking the players to actually do? Okay. And so for you found that actually the difficulty bit was fine, but actually the complexity bit that took a bit longer, and you had to lay that more carefully.
I couldn't jump as fast. Like, you would see them get it, and you go, right, cool, I can push it. But if I pushed it to, like, let's say if you could do a scale of 1 to 10, I go from 1 to 3 to 5.
Yeah.
If I did that, it would go all the way back down to 1.
Yeah.
But if I went 1 to 1.5 to 2, they would get it really, really quickly, because I wasn't pushing it too far too quickly. And that going from 1 to 3 could happen in the same session.
Yeah.
But I would just have to go baby steps with them, with that group of players, because I was also coaching them in a way that they hadn't really been coached in detail before, and I was asking them to do things that they weren't comfortable. I had a guy who was a striker who was now playing as a 6. He absolutely loved it because he got more of the ball.
Yeah.
But there was so many things he wasn't used to doing, so if I pushed him too much in terms of where to position, how to stand, not to go towards the ball, to then get it, to then play this pass, that's too much to ask straight away. Firstly, I just want you to get the ball in this position.
Yeah.
Then if you receive it poorly, we can talk about that. Then if your decision is to turn and run with it when there's you've attracted the pressure and it's better to pass, we'll get there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But I
you
learned
don't want
that
to kill the
quite quickly.
confidence, do you, by trying to put too much on too quick? And it's
And
not really.
you know what it's like when you have what we refer to as a bad session and nothing goes right. You've constantly got to evaluate why that is.
Yeah.
And it might be that. It might not be. It might just be a bad day.
Yeah.
But
it happens.
if we evaluate ourselves after each session and go, so what went right, what went wrong, why did it go well, and why did this break down? It's a really important thing to do.
So how important, Kieran, is it then to know what you want to get out of your session and kind of having almost like a visual image of what you think it's going to look like? So if I'm doing my session, whatever it may be, and take your number 6 in that situation there, like, should I be going into that practice thinking, well, I know what I want this player to be able to achieve in this thing, and if I see that it's good, and I can layer up from there. Is that important?
Yeah, I do. I say, for example, I've got a session that's an hour and a half. I probably spend about 2 hours planning it.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm a control freak and I'm a bit OCD and that lessens with time, obviously, when you know the players and stuff like that. But I kind of need to know what I'm looking for. But you also have to be open-minded enough that players will make good decisions. Yeah. And that's fine. Sometimes you have to let players go. Yeah. But for me, it's, okay, I'm doing this warm-up to lead to this. When I do this, I want to see certain patterns from certain players, maybe not everyone, to then move to this. And this is where I'm really going to focus on whatever it may be, the tactical element or the positional element, to then go into a game. Now, for me, when I say game, it was usually a phase, because right at the start we had to work so hard and work kind of intensely on the tactical element, but it worked really well. And then you give us a bit of free time, and that's what I'm saying. There was times where we lost one of the friendlies quite bad. We didn't lose by a lot, but we didn't play very well. And they're like, you see them coming in on the Monday, and it's just like, okay, let's play a silly game. Like a warm up where you have to throw it under your leg or whatever. You've got to be able to read your players and do that. You've got to know that, because as a coach you want to push on and almost like, that didn't go well, I'm gonna force it, we're gonna do it again, but you can't. You've got to read it, you've got to understand, sometimes you've got to deflate the pressure. But yeah, for me it's all, there's got to be a thread. So the way that I plan is from the phases of the game. So if we look at a month, first week is attack phase. So say you've got 3 sessions a week, it's playing out from the back, mid-creation phase or midfield third, and then attacking phase.
It's progressing out of the pitch,
so you're doing that, and then I go transition from attack to defence. So I've worked up the pitch, and then I go pressing in the final third. Recovery runs in the middle third, and then getting back into defensive shape. So I've worked back down the pitch. So then I'm in defensive phase, and I go, okay, defending deep, defending this, defending that. You work back up, and then you've got, do you know what I mean? So, but I'll work through that way. So then, and it, don't get me wrong, it never really goes that way, right? It never really works out
exactly like that.
Yeah. So the thing is, if you're working at an older age group and you really want to start playing out from the back to create space for the middle third, it might take 2 sessions to do that. But for me, that's how I plan. I plan a month at a time, and I plan, this is what we're going to work on, as I say, the attack phase, the 3 phases, but within that I could work on any, I call it principles to then sub-principles to then sub-principles, which is getting a bit too granular for what most coaches need, but within the building out, the playing it from the back, there could be 50 things you could work on, but I'm just working on that phase.
Yeah, but the things that are important to you and the players and what you need, they need to do at that time.
And where we've come from, where we are now, where we want to go.
Yeah.
But it's just that level of detail that I feel that I need to work the way I want to work, really.
Yeah. Kieran, that's superb. Thank you very much. Is there anything else? So obviously we spoke Rondos and positional play and layering. Is there, and there may not be here, but is there anything else you think that actually as coaches, again, particularly in the foundation phase, that we could do to underpin this stuff, in addition to using Rondos correctly, being aware of positional play and what it might look like and how we build that into it, and using layering appropriately so we don't push the players either difficulty or complexity in too much too quick. Is there anything else that you think we could do as coaches? I appreciate that's quite a broad question. I'll put you on the spot there. That you would say, look, actually, Scott, you know what, if I had your group, or was working with under 10s, I would definitely do maybe some of this stuff, or at least be thinking about this.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is have an end goal, I think, and understand that, because we need to know where we're going. Like, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Anthony Robbins, actually, and he's talking about, like, if you go a little bit off course. Like, I'm not saying that you can't have a plan B or anything like that, but you think of golf. If you hit a golf ball sweet, it goes straight where you want it to go. If you hit it 2 millimetres off, it ends up 400 yards the other way. And football,
that's definitely my golf.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played, but I've been to Top Golf, and it was definitely like that. But that's, if we don't have an end goal, we can end up somewhere that we don't want to go, just by not having something there. And it's millimetres, right? And that's what details are. They're millimetres that make a massive difference. Or like the example, I think in the same video he gets for plastic surgery, if your nose is 2 centimetres off, you look ugly. But if you fix it, right, like that's how it works.
That's why I do podcasts and not videos.
but that's if you don't have an end goal, if you don't know what you're looking for, and that's looking for the season. Like, if you're working with under 7s or under 10s, you don't really need to be worried about what it looks like at under 18s. You know what, in terms of the club understanding and where you want to go to. And I think that's at most clubs, and this goes for Spain, it goes for Holland, places that I've seen, everyone's really singing off their own hymn sheet. Everyone talks about having everyone playing the same way. I've not seen it that often, I have to be honest, where the entire club and all the coaches, but when it works, Barcelona, Swansea had it, when they had all the same type of manager, and then as soon as they changed it, it went off. Right, and they're trying to get back to that now. Southampton had it, and then it disappeared. So I think if you do genuinely have that, and you put the time and effort into it, the gold or the diamonds that come out the other side are ridiculous. Right?
It's that long-term planning, isn't it? And I wasn't expecting you to say that of all the things, honestly, but you're dead right, because going back to what we've done in this episode, like, if you're going to do a rondo, if you don't know what you're doing it for, what's the point? You're not going to get it right, are you? And I've certainly been guilty of doing practices where they may have been pretty good in the moment, but actually they're fit into the bigger stuff. It doesn't work, and then you get freaked out on a Sunday or a Saturday when the team's not doing what you want them to do, or it's not playing out in practice.
But that's a phase that every coach has to go through.
Right.
You've got those phases, right, of you go, I'm going to look for everything and just do exercises, because that's our drills,
kind of approach.
Right? That's it, and you just do it because you don't have the experience. And then you've got my way is the best way and the only way, and then it's actually the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know, and then you kind of find your feet, and that takes years, right? It takes years and years and years. I was lucky that I kind of found my niche, and it became a passion quite early, but I didn't ever think that I knew everything. I still thought that I needed to learn more, so I've been to pretty much every club in Spain because I need to learn. I've spoken to Pep Guardiola, I've spoken to Bielsa, I've spoken to these people because I need to go and ask the questions, and I got to a point where here in the UK there wasn't really anybody I could speak to, so I had to go to Spain. I had to go there. So and I was very, very lucky with some of the chance meetings I had with people, and it opened up doors and stuff like that. But
Well, you say they can, but I do imagine. I mean, there's a bit of luck possibly, but also the more you put yourself out there, right? The more you do these things, it's not always luck, is it? If you're going to go knock on a few doors, and things come back to you. Superb. Thank you very much, Kieran. Just to finish off, if you don't mind, I know you've got a project that you're working on, which sounds really interesting. But know a bit more about that, if you don't mind updating us. Is that okay? Just telling me where you're at.
So it's actually supposed to have launched on the 1st of March, but it's going to be launched on the 1st of April now. So it's a website, which is essentially it's like an online course.
Okay.
And it's called playpositionally.com. So essentially what it is, it's about positional play, rondos and positional games. So it's going to take you through all the concepts of positional play at the highest level, so you understand the game model, what they look like at the top level, what they are, how they fit together, that sort of thing. So it's going to have explanations kind of written along with some videos along with that. So there's an hour and a half lecture that I gave on positional play, which is on there so that you can watch it as video. There's a webinar I did on rondos, which will be on there. Then it's going to go into what are rondos, how to use them, positional games, why they're important, and it's going to have animated drills on there. And then I'm in the process of getting them filmed, or filmed me doing the drills, and then breaking them down so that I can talk about all those details that I'm talking about. But then I suppose that one of the main bits is the methodology section and the implementation. So it's going to be, how do we implement it, what are the right types of exercises, how do we do this at foundation phase, like a kind of the middle phase of development, then that, what is playing out from the back, why is it important. It's really, really pretty much every bit of information I've ever had or ever created on positional play.
Not in there. And target audience then, Kieran. I'm thinking of the coaches now. Which coaches? I mean, is it really open to anybody and everybody? Or you just
I just think the concepts are the concepts.
Yeah. How you use them, I guess, is.
Yeah, and I'm going to. So basically, everything's not going to be on there straight away, because I was a coach. I know what coaches are like. It's going to be drip fed on there over 6 months. Yeah. It's an annual subscription. You can do that, and more and more stuff will be added. And it's going to be broken down by age group, so it just means that it will help you and it'll help coaches who want to understand it. But there's also going to be quarterly webinars, which will be recorded and uploaded there. So the first one is the half space versus zone 14, because everyone was, for you 3 years ago, was talking about zone 14, that number 10 space, but then we're at the half space. So what does it mean? How do they compare? Because like a good friend of mine, Wayne Burnett, who's Tottenham under 23s coach, he did something similar for the FA, and he looked at all the details, and more goals are scored from the half space in zone 14, but then for a long time everyone was focusing on zone 14, and it's just little bits like that. But everyone talks about the half space. I've seen a book the other day called something half space, and it was like how to transform your team by using half spaces. It's like that's a tiny bit of a massive puzzle.
Big piece of, a bigger puzzle.
But I'm still working uploading all the content now, because there was a bit of a problem with the web designer, but it'll be up and ready for the 1st of April.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brilliant. And Kieran, if people want to reach out to you, I know you're active on social media, particularly on Twitter, but do you want to share us your Twitter handle? Do you know?
Yeah, it's at Kieran Smith 1.
Okay.
Number 1. So people can follow me on there, and my email address is on there if anyone wants to email. I will have to say I'm getting about 75 emails a day at the moment, so it might take you a little bit to get back, but I do my best. I try to get back to everyone, because I know what it's like when you're looking for information or advice or whatever it may be. So I'll always do my best to get back to everyone.
Well, Kieran, we reached out to you via Twitter, and you were really kind to get back to us pretty much straight away, and very accommodating with you, go make yourself available and stuff like that. And we're really grateful. I mean, we do. I mean, Mark's saying today, but Mark and I do this to learn ourselves, and speaking to people like you and what you've gone through, and to be able to tap into some of that knowledge and understanding is really useful for us. I mean, genuinely, what I can promise you is, and this is the impact it has, I know I will be better as a coach, and my players have a better experience around what I'm doing because of the conversation today, and that's the bit that's relevant. And hopefully that'll be the same for the listeners that listen to this episode.
Hopefully, I'm very good at waffling on about positional play. It's my passion more than anything else. So If people can take things away from it, then I'm pleased.
Well, it'd be great. Maybe, I don't know, 6 months, a year's time, we'd meet up again and we have a conversation again and see how things are going. I can share you if I've had a good Rondo experience again. I can share it with you.
Yeah, of course, that'd be good.
All right, Kieran, thank you so much for your time, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Kieran's been great to make himself available to us tonight, and we are really, really grateful. Please like the episode. Please, more importantly, share it with people, because the only way this really has power is if more people listen to it. So even though we like the likes and the reviews and the 5 stars, all that stuff, more importantly to us is just getting it out there so people can hear what we spoke about and Kieran's words today, which would be really useful. So please share that out there. If you want to reach out to us, we can be found on Twitter at SoccerCoachCast, or our email address is info@thesoccercoachingpodcast.com. Hope that's all okay, and have a good week. Thanks everybody. Bye now.